A question that a lot of students currently ask, and it's very timely, is due to the pandemic, a lot of people are have been staying from home. So a lot of different volunteering opportunities that they would have, regularly pursued has been paused. So a lot of students are kind of worrying about when in a year's time, or I'm currently applying for a university or college and I have to submit my supplementary applications, where can I find extracurriculars to do in this current state? And, if I can't, then what should I write in the sub-apps? So first and foremost, I think admissions offices are well aware of the struggles that students are currently facing, and you're definitely not the only one who's in this current boat. Taking a look at the supplementary applications that I currently review, a majority of students have written that, due to the COVID pandemic, my regular extracurriculars have stopped, but here's what I've been doing in grade 9 and 10 before the pandemic hit in grade 11. And this is an excellent approach to take, because you're not just, wasting that question on writing nonsense and explaining why you can't do the extracurriculars. I think everyone is well aware that there are going to be less opportunities. So in the extracurricular section, we have to kind of assess it in a different way than we used to, because the same opportunities aren't presented to students anymore. And we can't expect all students to have coming in with 4 years of extracurriculars anymore. So make sure that you put it up front that, this is what you did in grade 9 or 10. And because of the COVID, it stopped. But otherwise, you would have continued, for example. Another thing that you can also put in extracurriculars is they don't have to be stuff that you did in high school. They could also be things that you carried throughout your from your early years. So for example, if you're really interested in art and you took art lessons, or you did art on the side as a side hobby, and you created a lot of different paintings over the years, write that in your supplementary application. Also tell us how many paintings you drew. Try to put some stats around it to make it more beefy. Another tip that I would have for people is sometimes extracurriculars don't have to be things about what you did for other people. If you're a very entrepreneur, or you're very startup minded, and you created some social media account during COVID to help campaign with the right, accurate public health information, or maybe you did a side business to send off your baked goods or soups or whatever to those in need. Again, these are great examples to write in your extracurriculars as well. So don't look at extracurriculars as just side sports or clubs. It's really intended to be a section where you write about any experience that you have, any long or short commitment, any leadership role that you took. So try to tweak what you currently do and make sure that you do write that because of COVID, it did pause, but this is what I did before, so that we can also kind of assess it from that perspective. And then finally, also look and see if there are any clubs at your school that's currently meeting virtual. I think a lot of places have moved from in-person to virtual in the past year, so there might be more opportunities now than, let's say, March in 2020 when the pandemic first started. So take a look to see what organizations in your community currently have some sort of clubs or volunteering aspects online. If you're part of a religious community, there might be bands or choirs, etc. And then also make sure to reach out to your teachers, principals, student council president in your school to see what clubs are currently meeting as well. Of course, you might not have the same opportunity as before in terms of running events or having some leadership role, but at least if you can say you're still part of some club, I think that is still a better example to provide in the extracurricular section than saying I just did absolutely nothing in the past 2 years because of COVID. So again, keep looking. I think it is a very hard and difficult climate to find these opportunities. But if you do, even if it's just a lesser type of role, for example, just being a member, it's still a very good opportunity to write on your application. And again, if you were the type of student who was very actively involved before the COVID until it paused, sports clubs or whatever, make sure you point that in their application so that when we read it, we're not just thinking, you stopped soccer halfway through your high school years. Explain that you stopped soccer because of COVID. So these are just a few of my tips. Good luck, and don't stress too much about the extracurricular section because, like I said, you're definitely not the only person in this boat. All the other students who are currently applying in your year is also in the same situation. And I would say a substantial amount of applications I've seen this year have explained that because of COVID, their normal commitments have stopped. And I think that's a very good reason to put in the applications.